Welcome back to my channel. I'm Sonya Maya. I'm a clinical psychology doctorate student, and just as a disclaimer, I'm not a medical doctor, so if you're having any kind of issues or concerns about your vaginal health, then definitely reach out to a doctor. This is just what I've learned about vaginal discharge and odor. What's normal, what's not, should you be alarmed? I just want society to be less squeamish when it comes to talking about down there because it's an important part of our bodies. So let's get into it. And don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on bell notifications if you enjoy sex positive content. Even though I haven't been posting very often, I'm going to be doing my best to continue posting now that I have more time. I just finished my dissertation. That is my excuse. We all have vaginal discharge. It's how she keeps herself clean. So vaginal discharge consists of fluid or mucus that is secreted from the glands. It's not only to help clean the vagina, it's how the vagina keeps itself clean, but it also lubricates and protects the vagina. The reason that this mucus or discharge is sticky is because it helps in the fertilization process, I guess you could say, or the reproductive process. It helps the sperm reach the egg because of the sticky texture. A healthy vagina generally has a very acidic environment, and this is the normal pH levels for a healthy acidic vagina. The reason that you might have some like bleach type or whiteness on your underwear, like your vagina can actually change the color of your undies because of the acidity, which is actually normal and something that happens over time, which I wish somebody told me, because I used to think like, why the hell are my panties looking kind of like bleached? You know what I'm saying? I thought there was something wrong with me, but that's actually a normal part of having an acidic vagina, and it's acidic for a reason. The reason that we have acidity down there is because it helps protect our vagina from harmful bacteria. As we age, the acidity actually decreases. So you want the acidity. It's not a bad thing. It's good. So what does healthy discharge look like? It's generally white or clear, or maybe like a little bit yellow. And from doing some research and from listening to other doctors talk about what it looks like, they've generally described it as like an egg white type consistency. So that's one good way to think about it. Like if it looks like egg white, then that's pretty normal and healthy. It's important to note that the consistency and appearance of this type of substance, it actually changes throughout your menstrual cycle. Just after your period, it might be more dry. You might not have much discharge at all. Your estrogen levels start to increase again, and your ovary is preparing to release an egg. When the estrogen is higher, that is when you have more discharge. So after your period, a little bit dry, a week before your ovulation, you might start seeing more discharge, and it might be sticky and then a little bit creamy and have a white to yellow discharge, and this is when it's kind of like that egg white type consistency. Yes, you heard it right, like an egg white. During the luteal phase of ovulation, when the egg becomes released, you might have more sticky to dry discharge, and I've also talked about in my TikTok videos before, this is a stage of ovulation when you might be more sleepy and hungry. So from my research, the kinds of vaginal secretions you might have changes throughout your menstrual cycle due to hormone fluctuations, but also it has to do with like the way you're eating, the medicine you're taking. Birth control might have an impact on how your discharge is looking. There generally isn't a reason to be worried unless you have the following type of discharge. Even though it's normal to have discharge that's like clear, white, or light yellow, if your discharge is looking like a dark yellow or green, definitely go see a doctor. It's unfortunate that green is bad discharge because that's my favorite color. But anyways, you also want to make sure that you go see a doctor if it has a consistency of like cottage cheese or smells foul. If it smells different or the discharge looks different than what you're used to, then that might be due to like an STI or a couple of other things I'm going to mention. So for example, if it's frothy or clumpy like cottage cheesy, you might actually have a yeast infection. So that's important to keep in mind. You might also have like irritation and swelling of the vulva. Overgrowth of yeast in the vagina can make your vagina smell like honey, like cookies, like a sweet smell, but it could also smell a little bit like beer sometimes or sour. You want to definitely go to the doctor to figure out like what's the cause of the yeast infection, and generally it can be treated with over-the-counter medication. If you have like a gray discharge that might be accompanied by like a fishy type of odor, this might be a sign of bacterial vaginosis. This is the most common vaginal infection between the ages of 15 and 44 among women. And sometimes you can get bacterial vaginosis, like let's say you're douching, which you shouldn't do, I'm gonna get into that. If you're using like perfume in a bubble bath, if you're like putting any kinds of things down there, medicated soaps, you don't wanna do that. It could also be caused by if you're washing your underwear with like a certain kind of detergent, that could also cause bacterial vaginosis. Having sex with a new partner or multiple partners, there's a lot of things that could cause that kind of infection. So apparently male partners, they do not need to be treated for bacterial vaginosis, but they can spread this condition to their female partners.
Seriously?
Yes. Extremely seriously. So if you have red or pink discharge, this might be due to like your period, if you're about to have your period. But if this happens when it's not your time of the month, that could be due to like a small tear in the skin. It could also be some kind of STI related symptom. So definitely talk to a doctor to figure out like why you're seeing that kind of color. In general, if you have a strong odor that's different, or if your vagina feels irritated, definitely see a gynecologist or your normal doctor, because untreated conditions is generally the reason that people experience the most problems. In order to prevent this kind of thing from happening, the most important thing to understand is less is more. The myth that you need a douche to clean your vagina is just ridiculous and probably due to marketing. Using a douche actually washes away the good bacteria, like the ones that are helpful in avoiding infection. So it really just does what it's marketed to help you with something that it actually causes the problem for. I said that terribly, but you know what I mean.
You know what I am saying?
And of course, practice safe sex, get tested regularly. I've talked about a while ago in an STD video, you know, things that we don't really like to talk about, but it's important to talk about. You want to get tested annually or at least every 6 months, especially if you're sexually active, get tested every 6 months. So what are vaginas supposed to smell like? They smell like vaginas, which is kind of confusing because the smell can vary and is highly individual. There've been many studies on this. If you notice a new scent to your own vagina that you're not used to, definitely talk to a doctor, like I've said before, because we're not very good at self-diagnosing, and generally studies have shown that like for people that try to solve these issues on their own, they don't do a good job and they make matters worse. Using any feminine wash is not evidence-based too. So like if you read up online like, oh, I should use this like special soap meant for my vagina, like be careful, because there hasn't been any like real supported evidence on that being good for you. In general, if there's any kind of unpleasant odor, you can just wash it with water, and don't insert food or soap up there. Like I've said, people have said like you could put garlic up there, putting fruit up there, pineapple. Like for some reason there's this like myth that it's like we need to smell like pineapples. It's due to this like unhealthy social stigma that genitals are gross and smelly, and that's not true. So people are like, oh, I need to like eat a bunch of pineapple and like stick things up there to try to fix how I smell, when that's just not the case. Does eating pineapple and sweet food actually change your smell? And basically what the research says is like, there isn't evidence-based research that says like, oh, it definitely changes your smell, but like the way that you eat does impact your secretions in your body. For example, when you eat like garlic and red meat and some vegetables, your sweat, urine, ejaculate and vaginal secretions might have a stronger smell in like a pungent way. Whereas when you have more water-filled foods like watermelon, pineapple, that kind of thing, you might have like a sweeter and lighter, less of an odor. It's not super duper evidence-based. It's just in terms of bodily secretions in general. But bottom line, don't listen to those myths and just keep yourself healthy. You know, try to eat a healthy diet, try to exercise and stay hydrated, and wash your vagina with water and not all these other ridiculous things, and you should be fine. So I put some references below in other videos that I learned from that are actual doctors talking about it. The purpose of me talking about it is to just kind of like normalize these conversations. And you know me, I'm sex positive. I post on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Sex positive content. I'm almost done with my doctorate. I have a master's in clinical psychology, but I'm going to be a sex therapist very soon, and I'll keep you updated on my academic journey. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on bell notifications, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.